Hi and welcome to Beck's Bug Out Survivor. I want to get straight into this one. A little while ago we looked at 𝒃𝒄𝒄 and there's plenty of benefits to using 𝒃𝒄𝒄. 𝒃𝒄𝒄 is a very tight nylon material, very tightly packed weave, combined with something like a Climb Shield Apex insulation. Now you have a protection layer over your Climb Shield Apex insulation. Now that sounds pretty good. That is what a sleeping bag should be. But 𝒃𝒄𝒄 has a very unusual quality of it becomes an isolator. So how do the British Army counter 𝒃𝒄𝒄s? It just so happens I have a 𝒃𝒄𝒄 shell sleeping bag, and we'll have a look at that, and I will be using it in conjunction with a bivvy bag. But first I want to put down the ground sheet. Right, that's our ground cloth sorted. I'm going to get stuff covered in dirt unnecessary. This is 𝒃𝒄𝒄. It's the shell that goes over my sleeping bag. It's obviously just nylon. You would mistake it for a thick nylon, but it's all in the weave, that and the high thread count that makes it windproof up to 50 miles an hour. You are going to be toasty warm in your sleeping bag. This is rated for -10 comfort, British Fexka. So there it is going under. What's happening is this shell, which is protecting my insulation, is isolating any warmth from coming through from this blow-up pad. And a lot of lads in the British forces worked that out pretty quick, that the shell is actually an isolator. I've got a bloody good sleeping bag, bloody good insulation, it's rated correctly. I've got a bloody good pad, it's rated correctly. Pair the two up together, nothing. I should be a lot warmer. And it makes an invisible barrier between the sleeping bag and the pad when you marry them together. There's a couple of ways you can combat this. The very young lads who were out cold weather training simply got the bag with the 𝒃𝒄𝒄 here on the outside, and they just turn it inside out, as simple as that. So now the 𝒃𝒄𝒄 is on the inside, and you have the stitch through baffling here of your sleeping bag touching the pad. So let's try that. Sleeping bag turned inside out on my pad, which obviously would be inflated. That was issue 1 sort of fixed. So now, because I have the 𝒃𝒄𝒄s on the inside with me and the quilting on the outside, in other words I turn the bag inside out, now when I rest it on my pad, now I'm getting the benefit of both parts, a bloody good bag and a bloody good pad. Now the young lads in the British Army soon discovered that, don't you worry. Now you can actually drop the weight of a bivvy bag. This is Gore-Tex, this is my MTP. You can actually forego that altogether because the 𝒃𝒄𝒄 shell actually is windproof up to 50 miles an hour. It's kind of like its own bivvy bag. It's water resistant, not rainproof. So let's turn it 𝒃𝒄𝒄 shell out and find solution number 2 to combat the isothermic barrier reaction. So turn my sleeping bag, what would be considered the correct way around. 𝒃𝒚 on the outside, but I don't put this on top of my pad. What I do is bring the pad inside the sleeping bag. Now I have the full benefit of both bloody good bag and a bloody good pad. Now that is some marriage. That is some marriage right there. That works. There are downsides. I'm going to discuss the downsides of doing that. Your pad, whether that's foam or air inside the sleeping bag, fills up a lot of space. You'd have to be a pretty small guy or have an extra wide sleeping bag. I have an extra wide sleeping bag and it does work. But if you side sleep, obviously the face hole remains facing upwards. So if you side sleep, you're looking into the side of your hood. So this is more beneficial for a slim person in a big bag who doesn't side sleep, who can more or less just sleep on the back all night. If you can't sleep on your back all night, which I can't, this would be an emergency measure. I'd just be uncomfortable because I'm dying to get onto my side, but I'd be alive and very warm. Alive and warm is better than being comfortable and cold. This would be a practice best suited for someone of a smaller stature, certainly a smaller stature than me. So can I still do something similar to this and still get the benefit? And the answer is very, very simple. Turn the whole lot upside down. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's turn the whole lot upside down. What is happening here now? What is happening is pretty simple. I've turned my sleeping bag not into a sleeping bag, but a kind of an overthrow, a duvet if you like. Let's have a look. Here's my pad. I forget what this is rated to, but it is warm. And I don't get into the sleeping bag. It's not even zipped up. Underneath the pad, you can see it's not zipped up at all. It's left open from foot to head with the pad shoved down the bottom there. I bring this over and I actually cover my head entirely so the hood becomes a face shield. I am under that from head to foot. So now I'm lying actually on the pad, so I'm getting the benefit of the insulation. I'm getting the benefit from the insulation of the sleeping bag. I'm getting the benefit from the 𝒃𝒚 here acting as a wind shell. Now, I've got to be honest, I haven't actually tried this without the bivvy because I don't like the idea of slugs crawling all over my sleeping bag and helping themselves to coming inside with me as well. Little critters coming in, bite, bite, bite all night. And had I have rolled my sleeve up, you'd have seen the bites. Show you one of the bites I had. There you go. That's disgusting. So I do use this system inside a bivvy. That's the way I can conjoin a bivvy bag, a 𝒃𝒚 shell sleeping bag, and this here, a pad with a thermal value. There's going to be some people who would never bring an air pad or foam roll inside a bivvy. They much prefer it under a bivvy. But just for this one scenario, I have explained the reasons why I would want to be a little more protected, because them bites have persisted for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're all up my arm and this one. I don't know what they are. Pp'rtex shell sleeping bag. Don't be put off by them. Some sleeping bags will claim they're Pp'rtex, but they're not. What they are on a little reproduction, you know. It's a brand name. Just simply roll up my air pad. Could be your foam roll. I don't bother putting it in its little sack. That tube there is plenty for me. That would go down the side of my Bergen. In this case, I bought a holdall, and that goes down the side there. Sleeping bag, bivvy, and a ground pad. Let's put this away. I don't make money making these videos, so I make no money. It's not my living. I don't make a wage doing this. It's just a hobby and an interest, and sharing common knowledge, tips, tricks. I've probably made a complete hash of explaining the isothermic reaction, but that's what it is. Pp'rtex makes an invisible barrier, so you don't get the benefit of your pad, whether that's a foam roll or a blow-up pad. You don't get the full benefit. You will get the benefit of the inside insulation of your sleeping bag, and yeah, you could still be warm, but what I'm saying is you can increase the value to incorporate the value of the pad to the sleeping bag that has the Pp'rtex. I do have another Pp'rtex shell sleeping bag, which is the Buffalo, and that has an Aquatherm pile fleece, and that on the outside I don't think would work. I don't think would work at all. So only a quilted Pp'rtex would work. Quilted Pp'rtex are going to be things such as the 𝒃𝒅𝒐𝒖𝒕𝒔𝒗𝒊𝒃𝒗𝒊𝒃𝒗 sleeping bag system, which is the British Army military sleeping bag, which is totally modular, and Corinthia sleeping bags, I believe, have their version of a Pp'rtex, unless it is a Pp'rtex. Again, Pp'rtex is now a brand name of the production of the nylon that makes that tight weave, in the same way Gore-Tex is a trade name of the method used to make the product. But it, like Gore-Tex, has become synonymous with the actual material, although it's a company trademark name. So there you go. You really do need to separate the Pp'rtex from the insulation. My favourite is just to leave the sleeping bag unzipped, shove it over me, including my head, and use it like a big blanket, a duvet. And wow, that is brilliant. And that works better if you're a bigger guy, broad-chested, a bit like me. I say broad-chested, probably another word for overweight. If you're a smaller guy, you could get away with putting the pad actually inside your sleeping bag, and you would need, obviously, not to be a tosser and turner in your sleeping bag, so no tossing in your sleeping bag. I've shown you 2 or 3 different ways there of countering the issue of an isothermic reaction between the Pp'rtex and the insulation. Like I said, I probably made a hash of explaining it all, and I hope you understand. And all you have to do, to be quite honest, is try it. You don't have to do any sewing, you don't have to adapt it, you don't need to buy anything extra. You can just try it. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. You've lost nothing. But then again, it's cost you nothing to find out. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you out there. Happy trails.